What is going on, you guys? It is Livid. Hope you're all doing very well today. If you're watching this video, it's likely because you just picked up the Division 1 for the very first time, possibly due to the 10-year anniversary sale that's currently going on Steam. I'd like to welcome you all to the SHD and welcome to New York City. I wanted to center today's video around leveling up in the game, more specifically for the very first time, because it can be very easy to get lost and make decisions that might be a slight waste of time to your progression. Besides, any new game can be really confusing to grasp, so I'm hoping that this will give you guys some direction on how to level up efficiently. I'll also go over a few common mistakes that most beginner agents make while leveling up for the first time. So we'll start off in the very beginning at your character customization screen in Brooklyn. This process really shouldn't take you too long considering there aren't many customization options in the game. When you are done here, Isaac will take you through your very first steps on moving, taking cover, swapping weapons, and shooting. From there, you'll be directed to a nearby safe house for debriefing, and you'll be instructed to speak with a nearby JTF officer to reveal all of the side missions that are nearby. This will be really common practice throughout the game, as all safe houses will have an officer to speak with to reveal more information on the map. Brooklyn is only a tutorial area, and we aren't meant to stay here for too long. The only real objective we have here is to complete the 3 side missions and the main story mission that comes after. When you reach the main story mission called Precinct Siege, you'll be met with a few options, one of them being to matchmake and attempt to find other agents to group up with. Since there are probably a lot of new players playing the game right now, you might actually have a decent chance at finding some players for this mission. However, the mission is completely doable solo, so it's your decision on whether or not you would like to try and find a group via matchmaking. The next choice you have is setting the mission's difficulty, and you can choose either normal or hard. I would recommend only playing this mission on normal, because hard will have not much benefit other than rewarded currency, which is such a minimal number at this level that I really wouldn't consider it a better option. So I would say to save yourself the hassle and keep it on normal. Once this main story mission is complete, you'll be directed to meet with Fray and board a chopper to Manhattan, where the rest of the game will take place. After you leave Brooklyn, you're going to arrive in a location called Camp Hudson. This is like a hub, and it has both gear and weapons vendors. All safe houses in the game will have at least one vendor, a situation board, and a JTF officer. The situation boards will permanently reveal encounters on the map in that district, and these need to be completed in order to upgrade your 3 wings inside the base of operations, which we're going to talk more about in just a second. It's not required to visit the board, but it does make it easier to find the encounters since it will permanently mark them on your map until they're completed. Each of the JTF officers inside safe houses will reveal side missions. These mostly reward you with XP and crafting blueprints that you can use at a crafting bench. Side missions will not be unlocked unless you talk with the JTF officers, and I actually recommend not talking with them for now, just so your map stays clear of any clutter, as well as any potential commotion when you're trying to take out the encounters. I would say to come back and talk to them whenever you need XP for further missions. However, in the long run, it is recommended to just clear everything off of your map if you're doing a level 30 character. So if you would like to just reveal everything on the map and take everything out as you go along, that's also a very good practice. It also seems to be that some of the side missions might be required in order to unlock some of the open world bosses. I'm still trying to do further testing on this, but for now I would just say you can either reveal them if you'd like to do them, or if you would like to wait, you can just leave the JTF officer and come back later. Your first story mission will be to liberate the base of operations, which is just slightly northeast of the current location that you're in, and it has an enlarged side mission icon. Once you do this, you'll be given a walkthrough on the 3 wings in the base, which are the medical, tech, and security wings. Each wing has their own individual upgrades that give your agent unique bonuses, vendor access, and skills. You can earn points for each wing by completing main story missions, which will now have unique icons that correlate with each of the wings, as well as encounters which give you 60 credits each. The very first upgrade to unlock in each wing is fixed on the very first option at the top of the list for 500 points. After that, you'll have another upgrade that's worth 500 points, and then finally a 1000 point upgrade. Everything else is anywhere between, I would say, 200 to 400. However, both of the 500 point upgrades need to be unlocked before you can upgrade the 1000 point upgrade, which will always have the signature skill ability. I always recommend focusing on the medical wing upgrades first in order to unlock the recovery link as fast as possible. This signature skill will help you out tremendously while both solo or in a group with teammates. Make sure while you're here that you visit the rewards claim vendor and collect your choice of pre-order weapons and a backpack if you purchase the definitive edition. I recommend the paramedic backpack, which has extra medkit capacity, or the survivor AK that has high base damage. Your main objectives are to complete the story missions and encounters in the recommended level order. If you hover over each mission, there will be an enemy level indicator to show you what level the enemies will be in that area. This works the same as hovering over each district, and the top right corner will have the recommended level range that you should be in order to wander around in that district safely. Also make sure that when you are taking out encounters or side missions that you're on the lookout for gear crates. You'll also see these inside the main story missions in random tucked away areas. You'll most commonly find these inside rooms that you unlock during hostage rescue encounters or the final areas where you upload data during virus research encounters. The gear in the smaller containers will almost always be gray or green, and the medium to large containers will have higher rarity items depending on your current level. Another thing that I'll mention is when you are doing story missions, just like the story mission in Brooklyn, I would recommend only doing them on normal difficulty because the increased difficulty rewards are just not worth the extra effort. Doing them on normal is just simply the most efficient way to level up when you're first playing the game, and this is actually a pretty good segue into gear, weapons, and stats. The biggest piece of advice that I could give for this is to not hold on to items for too long, as they'll quickly become underleveled as you level up through the game. As you level up, you'll obtain gear drops of specific rarities depending on your level. I would say that it's safe to always assume to see green drops until you hit level 30. Afterwards, you'll only see green if you open up the small gear containers. You should start seeing blue items from vendors and drops around level 6, and purples around level 25. I would recommend unlocking the armory in the security wing as early as you're able to unlock the advanced weaponry vendor. This vendor will always sell the best gun rarities available to you at that time for regular currency, and those rarities will consist of his entire stock, as opposed to other vendors that would sell maybe 1 to 2 items of a higher rarity. Boss drops as well as Dark Zone vendors operate the exact same way, but Dark Zone vendors will require Dark Zone currency, which I'll talk about here in just a second. When it does come to weapons, I just suggest running anything that you pick up for a while and learn how the damage and handling is. As you level up, you're kind of just dealing with whatever cards you're dealt with. Some guns are definitely better than others, but you won't be in these lower levels for too long, so just use whatever you get for now. Keep an eye on your agent's level as you progress. You can see this on the top right corner of your screen in-game or inside the social menu, and compare your agent's level to your gear and weapon levels. Keep them as close to each other as you can. If you find yourself in a position where your holster is level 9 but your agent is level 15, that item is underperforming and will vastly affect your stats. As far as what to do with the gear that you don't need anymore, you can either scrap it or sell it. There are commendations in the game for doing both. I would say early on to sell items so you can start accumulating money and start scrapping items after level 30. The stuff that you pick up early on is going to give you low-end materials that won't help you out much for crafting high-end rarity gear or guns. I think that selling your underleveled gear for money is a better idea, so you can instead buy items that you need for upgrades, so you don't need to worry about waiting around for better gear to drop. You don't really need to worry about your agent's stats too much as you level up, as they're mainly an endgame consideration. However, depending on how your stats are balanced, it will affect how you approach encounters. So long story short, firearms will help determine how hard your guns hit, stamina will adjust how much damage you can take, and electronics will affect how efficient your skills perform. It's a good idea to pay attention and adjust your stats by using different gear pieces or recalibrating attributes at the recalibration table based on your preferred playstyle. If you find that all of your gear is put into electronics, you should use skills that have offensive damage, such as a turret, secret mines, or sticky bomb. You can also use a pulse and a good heal. If you find that your stats lean towards all stamina, use higher base damaged weapons to help you out more with damage output. And if you find yourself in a pure DPS standpoint, try finding gear with health on kill attributes to help keep some sustainability. Weapon talents also require certain stat numbers to unlock, and you can recalibrate gear if you need to, but I would recommend saving your crafting materials and currency for endgame, as it will be better utilized there. I would say to keep your recalibration options minimal to save on materials and money, like rolling maybe 1 or 2 stats every now and again, if you feel that you need it for your current setup, or if you're close to unlocking gun talents would be the other consideration. Making builds is really not a priority as you level up, because any gear that you get will quickly become obsolete as you level up, so don't worry about making any kind of builds, assigning loadouts, or stashing items in your stash box unless it is level 30 gear. As you play, you will earn something that are called shield caches, and these caches will reward you with division tech, a valuable crafting material, and classified gear. Classified gear is considered the highest tier of gear in the game, and these should be stashed until later regardless of what gear set it is. You can get these for clearing 25 Dark Zone landmarks, so you can actually get these below level 30, and I believe you actually get one as soon as you establish the base of operations. So make sure whatever you get in those caches that you do put these in the stash box for later. Now let's go ahead and talk about Dark Zone for a little bit. The Dark Zone is a PvPvE zone that a lot of players avoid as they progress, but it can sometimes be a good idea to play it early on. You're able to enter the Dark Zone as early as level 10, but I wouldn't recommend actually going in until you're at least level 12. The Dark Zone has different player brackets to diversify player power scaling. You can view which bracket you're in by hovering over the Dark Zone and checking the top right corner, and it should say something along the lines of Dark Zone player bracket 1 through 14. You can also find the enemy level for each of the Dark Zones here. Pay attention to this and avoid wandering into higher Dark Zones as they have more powerful enemies. I mentioned earlier that Dark Zone vendors will sell the best gear available to you at that time. The drops in the Dark Zone operate the same way depending on which Dark Zone you're in. There are various activities you can do in the DZ for loot, like contamination events, which require higher filter levels, so you won't really be able to do these until you're level 30 or even level 29. You can also do supply drops and landmarks, which have locked crates and bosses on the inside of them. Each landmark and boss will respawn after 10 minutes, so you can farm them until your loot bag is full. All loot that you pick up will need to be extracted here unless you claim it from a supply drop. The best way to think of the DZ is that nothing is actually yours until it's extracted, even if you have it picked up. You can extract your loot at any of the extraction sites that are scattered around. Just remember that PvP is active in this area, so players can show up at any time, go rogue, and steal your loot if you die. They can also hijack extractions, making all the loot attached to the rope fall to the ground, and it can be picked up again. This is why I like to recommend trying out the Dark Zone in lower brackets. Not only is it not as contested with other players, but it will teach you the mechanics of the DZ to prepare you for higher skill brackets. Once you are successfully done with progression and you reach level 30, the next steps are going through the 5 different world tiers, World Tier 5 being the absolute highest bracket that you could achieve. The easiest way to do this is just to continuously keep equipping things that are of a higher gear score. It doesn't even matter what they are, it doesn't matter what stats they give, as long as it's a higher gear score, just equip it. The easiest way to do this is probably just to go around to all the vendors and buy whatever is a higher gear score. You can also just replay some of the main missions on higher difficulties to get better gear drops. Even purple gear sometimes will have a higher gear score, sometimes it doesn't really make any sense, but just pay attention to the gear score, and then you can change your world tier by entering your map and then holding down a button on the top left. It should say which one to change for your world tier, and then you can progress that way continuously until you hit World Tier 5. Once you do hit World Tier 5, from there it's really just whatever your personal level of replayability is. There are more activities that have opened up to you, such as incursions and legendary missions. These are really fun to do. You can go hunt for all of the classified gear pieces. They are very lengthy and grindy to obtain. I do have other guides on my channel for new and returning players. Make sure you guys go and check those out. I will leave them linked in the description. Hopefully this video was helpful for you guys who are newer or who are maybe just returning back to the game after a very long hiatus. It is really nice to see an increase of player count. Thank you guys very much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and I will talk to you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day.